By their very nature, bosses are meant to be intimidating foes that test every skill you've picked up as you've played the game. Some, however, turn out to be much more unsettling than you'd expect, and every so often, you'll come across a boss in a game that isn't exactly a horror experience, but it'll still make you shudder in your skin. This is a feature dedicated to 15 such bosses. Nyx, Persona 3. Persona 3's final boss is a force to be reckoned with for several reasons. Not only does it look absolutely terrifying, it's also the mother of all boss fights, with Nyx taking numerous forms throughout what might be one of the longest boss fights you'll ever experience. Persona games have always dealt with darker themes, of course, but very rarely has it done so on the same level as it did with Nyx. Giant DIANOGA, Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. Shadows of the Empire's infamous sewer level has gone down in history as one of the creepiest, most unsettling levels you'll ever play in a video game, never mind the fact that it's not even in a horror game. It's only appropriate that it should culminate with a boss fight that's just as scary. The flesh-eating giant DIANOGA is easily one of the most formidable foes you'll come across in the entire game, and if you fought this boss when you were a child, as many did, there's a very real possibility that it left you permanently scarred. Queen VENESSA, A Hat in Time. You don't expect to have to go through an out-and-out psychological horror experience in a charming 3D platformer made for players of all ages, but here you are. A Hat in Time's Queen VENESSA isn't a traditional boss fight, no, but every second of the manor level where she stalks the halls and tries to get her cold, phantasmal claws on your skin is a horrifying experience. There's nothing quite as terrifying as watching her red eyes shining brightly in the distance as she slowly makes her way toward you through a hallway. Killer Croc, Batman Arkham Asylum. For a non-horror game, Batman Arkham Asylum sure had quite a bit of nightmare fuel. Scarecrow would, of course, have been the obvious choice for this one, but someone who often gets overshadowed in the conversation is Killer Croc. Making your way through the sewers as the deformed monstrosity lurks beneath the disgusting water and leaps up at you every so often to chomp on your head is a terribly tense experience, and one that the fans of the game still think back on with, well, is fondness the right word? Monster Awk, Spider-Man PlayStation 1. More tense than it was scary, the Monster Awk sequence in PlayStation 1's Spider-Man game was an unexpected surprise. So why was it unexpected? Well, because you don't expect to have that kind of a heart-thumping experience in an easygoing superhero game. There's no shortage of people out there who went into the sequence with no idea of what they were about to get into and came away absolutely terrified with memories that'll last forever. WATERWRAITH PIKMIN 2. Given the adorable aesthetic of the Pikmin series, it can be easy to forget sometimes that it's set in a distant post-apocalyptic future, but these games often surprise players in other ways as well. Exhibit A, the WATERWRAITH in Pikmin 2. The boss fight against this guy is an unexpected creep fest, from its near-invisible phantasmal form to its unsettling animations to that sound it makes while it's running around. Every second of this fight is liable to make your skin crawl. NOSK, Hollow Knight. There's no shortage of moments in this Metroidvania classic that invoke a sense of dread in some form or another, and the boss fight against NOSK and the stuff leading up to it is certainly up there as well. A mysterious shape-shifting monstrosity with spindly, spider-like legs and devastating attacks that can kill you in a second would have been a terrifying beast to go up to against no matter what, but the dark and desolate environment the fight takes place in only serves to heighten that atmosphere. UNDEAD ABERRATION, Dark Souls 2. Honestly, we could have made an entire list like this one talking about nothing but Dark Souls, and as you'll soon see, we do have quite a bit of From Software stuff to talk about. Dark Souls 2's undead aberrations aren't exactly bosses, of course, but your skin will still crawl every time you come across one, whether that's because of their disgusting shape and form, their fire resistance, or the fact that they hit like a truck. AMYGDALA, Bloodborne. Calling Bloodborne a non-horror game wouldn't entirely be accurate. This is the perfect blend of cosmic and gothic horror after all. But we love talking about Bloodborne, so, whatever. Because, boy, is this boss fight an absolute nightmare for all the right reasons. The horrific visual design, the swelling music that refuses to let up, those terrifying attacks that can kill you in a couple of hits if you're not careful, and it only gets better, or worse depending on how you look at it, when you dive into the background lore. Corrupted True Monk, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Sekiro in general is much less scary than the likes of Dark Souls and Bloodborne, but it too takes every chance it gets to scare the crap out of its players at unexpected moments. Corrupted True Monk does that as well, maybe not to the same degree as Bloodborne's AMYGDALA, but from the boss's visual design to the sheer challenge this fight puts up, there's more than enough going on here for players to associate the memory of this fight with constant sweating. Guardian Ape, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. You wouldn't think that a massive monkey flinging its poop at you would be scary, but that's the magic of From Software. They can make anything seem scary, and boy does the Guardian Ape put up a tough fight. That challenge alone would have been enough to qualify this as one of the most unsettling, intense boss fights in a game in recent memory, but add to that moment, you know the one, and it becomes even more so. Tentacle, Half-Life. The Half-Life games have always flirted with horror ideas and sensibilities, and Half-Life 1 itself was full of moments that did that as well. Take the sequence with the appropriately named Tentacle, for instance, a massive collection of tentacles ending in deadly blades that would have been a scary proposition regardless of anything else, but the way the game uses the enemy makes it stand out that much more. Trying to make your way around it as you make your way up while trying to distract it is a truly heart-pounding experience. The Sorrow, Metal Gear Solid 3. Metal Gear Solid 2 has always had an affinity for horror ideas for as long as it's been around, but never did it veer as deeply into that territory as it did with Metal Gear Solid 3. And even in that game, which was full of such moments, the encounter with the Sorrow stands out. Walking through a seemingly endless river while being hounded and surrounded by the ghosts of the people you've killed and harmed throughout the course of the game is exactly as unpleasant and memorable as it sounds. Omega Flowey, Undertale. Undertale is all about making players as uncomfortable as possible, and it keeps coming up with ways to do that. The encounter against Omega Flowey is one of them, and also, as most would agree, one of its most successful attempts to unsettle players. This boss turns out to be much more creepy foe than you might initially think, and even now, some years after having first experienced it, it's hard to get that encounter out of our minds. Emil, Nier Automata. Nier Automata takes a lot of pride in how weird it can get, and boy can it get weird. And a lot of those moments actually end up being surprisingly scary. Maybe not scary in the traditional sense, but definitely enough to make you uncomfortable. The encounter against Emil definitely fits that description as well, not just because of the audio-visual design of the encounter, but also because of the narrative context surrounding it. So what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below, and if you like the video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.